What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Help Me Close Sales School, where I have conversations with sales leaders around the world with one purpose in mind: to help you and me become the best that we can be in the world of sales. If you're on social media, whether that's LinkedIn or Twitter or even Instagram, I'm sure you've noticed the sales debate going on between old sales and new sales, or cold calling versus social selling. Whether you're on the left side or right side of the debate, frankly, doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, sales is about one thing, and that's being able to have conversation and bring value to those who you're interacting with. So today, to bring value to you, I've reached out to Jack Kosakowski, who is the CEO of the American division of Creation Agency and is a major supporter of social selling. And in this conversation, Jack and I, we talk about what is social selling, what are some of the things that people are doing right, what are they doing wrong. We also get into some actionable insights that you can be doing today on social, specifically on LinkedIn, to help drive valuable conversations that will allow you to build relationships and bring value to those you interact with. So stay tuned and check out my conversation with Jack Kosakowski. Hey closers, Max here with Helpmeclose.com. Today we have Jack Kosakowski with us from Creation Agency. I'm sure you guys have definitely seen him. He puts out a ton of great content. Jack, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Am I pronouncing your last name right? Kosakowski?
Hey, man. You know what? You're closer than most. That's all that matters. So,
So, Jack, first off, can you do a little introduction of yourself?
yeah, absolutely. So, Jack Kosakowski, and I'm the CEO of the U.S. division of a global agency, and I'm pretty much just a super passionate social selling practitioner of sales. I still sell pretty much a majority, 90% of all business that we close for our agency. I am the one that's closing it. So I am in the weeds. I educate a lot, write a lot of content, and we work with companies to help them get into the real world, right? The digital, the new way of, sales and marketing, kind of aligning through technologies and processes. And we do a lot of digital marketing for, I think we have 8 of the Fortune 500 that we work with at our agency, and just love what I do. And I love to connect with salespeople and educate them and kind of show them new ways of doing things that, most people are telling you not to do.
Why is that? Why are people saying not to do it?
I've come to the understanding that most people just don't understand it. And when people don't understand something, that's change. And so change is a hard thing for people, especially if they've been selling or marketing or doing something the same way for a really, really long time. People just, they're scared to change. Most people are bad at doing sales the old way. So why would they want to try something new? They haven't even figured out the old.
So let's take a quick step back. We're talking about like a new way, old way. Let's define what are we talking about here when we're saying the new way of sales?
So what I would say the new way of sales is like a multi-channel kind of omni approach, using digital, the phone, email in a cadence, and having kind of a sales process that I like to say is defined around value. And what I mean by that is that if you look at the way that most sales reps are selling and the way that they're trained that you ask for something that you don't deserve. So, I'm not opposed to cold calling. I think that, part of your strategy in sales, there has to be a cold strategy, especially if you're newer in sales, no way around it. But what I do believe is that the new way of selling and what digital gives us, social media, all these different channels, it gives us a new way to actually create conversation, which I like to call is value versus ask. And that is, getting visible, valuable, and connected to your buyers proactively, 6 months before they know they're going to buy. But also, looking at your emails, are you just spraying and praying and kind of crossing your fingers that somebody will answer an email? Is that how you hit your quota? Are you, calling people and interrupting them, and that's, a one size fits all strategy for you. You got a list. What are you doing outside of asking for something that you don't deserve? And then there's a second part to this is, if you're new to sales, because I know you've got a big millennial audience, you've got to start looking at the career of sales. So most people in sales will not actually have a profession in sales. They're just salespeople that found a job, and there's a lot of companies out there that are hiring anybody for sales at this moment because there's not, there's so much need, but there's very few people that actually have the experience or the drive or the passion, the hard work ethic to actually be good at sales. So if you are really a sales professional and you're a millennial, you got to start thinking about the long-term aspect of your career, where a lot of companies they're not selling that to millennials. They don't want millennials to build a personal brand. They don't want millennials to sell and think of a long-term way of actually creating content and creating conversation and becoming kind of a mini expert in their niche. So millennials really have to understand, what do I want? Do I want to be a career professional salesperson? Then I need to learn and understand the new tools, the new processes of communication around building a career where I don't have to beg for business the rest of my life, and thinking about long-term, and you've done this, Max, right? We were just talking about this. You've gotten connected to so many people through starting this podcast, and sales conversations have happened, opportunity conversations have happened. Mm-hmm. And that's really what millennials need to start doing. They need to embrace this new innovative way of connecting and selling that's more of a long-term strategy than, just the short-term strategy, which is almost millennial salespeople understand how to do.
Absolutely. So from what I hear you saying basically is that, millennials who are getting into sales and even people that have been in sales, for 5 years, or the new way of sales is really developing a personal brand and using that brand to develop new connections and to bring value to your prospects through different forms of medium.
I think that's the long-term strategy, which is, how am I building my network? What, am I scaling my connections? Am I scaling my conversations? How many people, am I getting connected to that are, for example, influencers in the space that I want to be in long-term? How do I get connected to those people? I have conversations with people. That's the long-term perspective of what I call personal branding, right? Mm-hmm. But the short-term perspective of social selling is actually sales. It's using social to create, strengthen, and influence one-to-one sales conversations in the sales process, and doing it in a way that actually drives the result of revenue and opportunity. And you have to look at those two things differently, in my opinion. There's personal branding, which is more of a long-term investment in your career. And then you have to look at social, especially if you're in sales, you have to look at social selling as actual a component of your selling process, and make it a habit to start to leverage the tools, the technologies to create, strengthen, and influence these conversations one-to-one to help you close freaking deals.
So how do you do that? How do you separate the two? I mean, if you have your personal brand, that's who you are. It's that long-term career perspective. And then you also have a product that if it's not your, it's not your product, not your company, it's someone else's company. It could be a Fortune 500. It could be a small mom and pop. So it's really not part of you. It's just where you're at in that point in life. So how do you separate those two, your brand from your product, when you're selling and representing both of them on social media? Or do you even separate them?
So, the tough part here is, and I've been through this, is depending on what your company is and what they'll let you do, can kind of drive this. I will tell you that some companies won't, you'll get fired for building a personal brand in kind of the digital age today. Mm-hmm. So, you want to start off small. When I think of social selling, I think about this. So in sales, there's only one thing that has to happen in the beginning of a sale and one thing that has to happen in the end of the sale. And that's a conversation. So what's happening in most organizations is you're given a KPI, and your KPI is cold call X amount of people, cold email X amount of people. And you're not giving any leeway or strategies around, okay, let's see what we can do that would actually give, value in the process of selling, or how can we get visible? And I like to call this, just to really, really break this down at the basic level. If you're in sales, you need to focus on 3 things with social media. You need to get visible, and that's just having a profile and posting content that's relevant to your buyers and targeted, and having conversations and engagement, and I'll get back to that. 2, you need to be valuable. So what does value mean? Value means different things to different people. And this is where sales is hard, because most salespeople, they don't understand what value is. And what that means to me is that when I hear that is you don't understand your buyer, because we need to understand whatever industry we're in, what's important one-to-one to our buyer personally and professionally. For example, if you sell to a retail outlet like you do, right? If you go in and you sell to a retail outlet, you're trying to get them to buy your credit card processors or your POS system. What are you doing to help promote their business, either before, during, or after the sale, to help drive more people into to their small business, medium business, whatever that is? Let's say it's a restaurant. What are you doing to help a restaurateur from a marketing perspective using social media to get people into the store, to show him that you're more than just a salesperson, or to show her that you're more than just a salesperson? What are you doing with, let's say you're selling to SaaS companies. How are you helping a marketer, if you sell to marketers, get more leads? Because at the end of the day, that's what their job depends on. If you're trying to sell a marketer a technology, well, then what are you doing on the back end using social media to help them personally and professionally in their career when you're not selling them? There's so many different things that have to happen before, during, and after a sales process that have nothing to do with selling. And I think a lot of sales reps, they don't understand that. They only know how to sell. And selling today with the digital age, the competitive advantage is understanding how you use social in your sales process to show a buying committee, I can dive into that too, show multiple people inside of an organization that you're more than just a salesperson. You're actually an advocate and a partner of theirs that's going to help them drive more business, drive more conversation, drive more visibility, because that's what every organization's banking on, and that's what they need. And that's how you build trust within an organization. You got to be better than just a good salesperson.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Sales has evolved. It's more than just, being a smooth talker and kind of really, I think that old perspective that people have of salespeople, you see that in the movies where they're just these smooth talkers and they can talk their way out of anything. No, today, in 2017, we have to be able to wear multiple hats, be able to do many things. And one of those things, like if you're social selling and you're creating a digital brand, is developing your own marketing. What are your thoughts on that? Should sales reps be developing their own content, and how much time should they be spending developing that content?
So I'm gonna come back to that question. So one thing I wanted to bring up was I want to give an actionable takeaway, because I hate when people tell you how to do something and they don't give you anything. So I want everybody that's on here that's in sales to do one thing. I want you to write and think about something that's happening in your industry, and I want you to make a post on LinkedIn, just a post, not a publish. This isn't content. This is an actual just post on LinkedIn. And I want you to talk about 3 things that you see going on in an industry, or you make this up, but I want you to think about your buyer when you're doing this. And I want you to just talk about some things that you've observed and give a couple actionable takeaways in the post that you think your one-to-one niche buyer in your industry could get some value out of. And I want you to post that on LinkedIn. And then what I want you to do is I want you to, as people start to engage, and, go ask some friends to share it. Come ask some of your network to like it so you can kind of get, a little bit of buzz around it so you get the algorithm working in your favor. And then what I want you to do is I want you to respond to every single person that gives a response on that post. And I want you to respond in a way that, is organic, natural. I don't want you to sell. This is not about selling. This is about creating conversation. Because the most powerful thing that social gives to us is it gives us a platform to create conversation without selling. And the best salespeople know how to scale conversation. So by doing that one thing, what I want you to do is just keep the conversation alive, keep engaging with everybody. Because all the people that talk about social selling, they call it fluff, or they say this, one thing you'll notice about all those people is they don't engage, most of them. Most of them post something, they post their content, they want you to read their blog, they want you to buy their book, they want you to, they want you to do this, they want you to do that. But here's the one common denominator and why they don't understand social selling. Those same people never engage back with you for the most part. People come, they'll talk, and that's what they don't understand, what is true social selling. True social selling, and you know this about me, Max, when I post something, I start conversation, right? I start big conversations. What do I do with every single post? I respond. Now, the reason is because what a lot of people don't understand is that I'm very strategic about everything that I post on LinkedIn. All of those conversations that are happening, I'm watching and analyzing who's my target buyer in here. Because I know that there's going to be a lot of people that couldn't buy what I have to offer. But the thing is, I love conversation. And I can have conversation with anybody because you know what? Those same people could be a referral. And when I start this conversation, what I'm doing, instead of a cold call, what I'm doing is I'm starting to start value versus ask conversation with this post, which is what I want you to do as well. Now, keep in mind, don't just post fluff. Post something that's actually thought-provoking, that's valuable, that's industry specific, that could help the group of people that you essentially want to sell in the future. If you start to do this, you'll create conversation. And what you do is you engage in that conversation and you look at those as touches. I look at that as a sales touch because you know what? I'm not actually even selling. That's the best part about it. I finally am giving value and not asking for anything. And what you do is you engage with those people and then you go and you DM them and you say, hey, you know what? Thanks for your feedback on my post. It's really interesting to see all the things that are happening. And I'm giving you an example. I'm not telling you that you actually talk like this, but say, hey, I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing. You're the target market that we're going after, and you know what? I would love to hear what you guys are doing and see how I could help. See who I could introduce you to, and start a conversation from the online conversation and move that conversation offline. And here's the deal. Don't sell. Ask what you can do for them. And don't sell at all. Don't sell, don't sell, don't sell. Create conversation. Find targeted people that you should be having a conversation offline with. Move that to DM and move them offline and figure out what you can do for them. And put this as one of your strategies in your toolkit to start becoming proactive and creating conversation using the other channels where buyers live.
Yeah, I love that. That's, the main source and main way of how I've been able to develop and build a network using LinkedIn and other social media is developing content, following exactly what you said, developing content, engaging those who engage with the content. Then, we take the conversation through DM, and then, you get tired of just sending these little messages on LinkedIn. So then next thing, it's more natural to just say, hey, let's have a phone call. Do you have 10 minutes? And we'll get on the phone, and I'd like to learn more about you. And
here's the thing about this, that, and we'll get into the content piece that you're talking about. I believe that if you're new in sales, building a personal brand is important, but you really got to know how to sell. So, focus on the little things that don't take a lot of time. Putting a post on LinkedIn, it takes about 10 minutes to think about what you should put on there. It takes about another 10 minutes to actually position it so that, the grammar's right. Make sure you don't sound like an idiot. and really think about something thought-provoking, and then post it. And it'll take you 10 minutes throughout the day, 20 minutes throughout the day to engage. And start small. Start doing the little things first. Start getting comfortable with social media. Start understanding the power of conversation and engagement online, and work some of those little conversations offline. Get those short-term wins, and then as you start to see that, hey, I'm making a commitment to this, I'm seeing that it works, I believe in it, then you go to the next step, which is, do I have enough wisdom to create content around this? What a lot of salespeople don't understand is there's a difference between marketing content and sales content. Sales content should be written one-to-one around conversations that you're having with your buyers, that there's a common theme of something that your buyers don't understand, either about, usually it's about your industry or how your product can help them. And indirectly, you start to write these little pieces of content. If you have a marketing team, make sure you run it through your marketing first, make sure your grammar's right, that you're not going to get in trouble with the company. But start writing content, and here's the deal. Write those little, maybe it's 400 words, it shows a screenshot of something, and start to use those LinkedIn publishes in your prospecting emails. So, most sales reps are sending you a link to the blog or the website of the company or that. People don't care about that stuff, you guys. They really don't. So, when you start to create this content, think about it one-to-one, and think about it, is it solving a one-to-one business problem that I'm hearing from my prospects all the time? Publish that on your LinkedIn, and start to put that the link from your post in your emails, because you want to start driving people. And even if they're not social, that's okay. Because the thing is, if you put that link in your email, you're going to drive them to your social profile to see your credibility, to see who you work with, your recommendations, and to read content that's coming from you, because you're the one that's got to build trust with them. They don't care about the company. The company they know is going to write, Fugazi content that's going to work in the favor of the company. They want to hear from you and your expertise, and you leverage that content to your advantage. And that could be video too. That could be just taking a 2-minute, 4-minute video, putting it on YouTube about, hey, I talked to one of, I keep hearing this common theme around agriculture, and, people in this industry, the buyers in my industry, they keep talking about this. And what they don't understand is that we have, there's solutions out there to fix this. And a lot of times it doesn't even have to be about your problem, your solution. It could be about something outside of your solution that just gives value to them, to draw them into you, to have a sales conversation. Start to use those little 2 to 4-minute clips, do it on your cell phone, put those on a YouTube channel, and put those links in your prospecting emails. Start driving people to you, and you will start to see things happen versus cold prospecting people, driving them to your company website. You try a whole different way of selling. This is where innovation comes in. This is the new way of selling that most people are not doing, and it's a competitive advantage.
Yeah, another really great tip that I've learned from observing other individuals who have been great social selling practitioners is when you're writing these pieces of content, looking at other industry leaders, maybe some of those other products that solve a solution, and getting them involved in your blog posts, and maybe tagging them. Because if they already have traction in social selling, by bringing them into your post, they're probably going to promote that as well, which is going to help you spark those algorithms and drive more traffic to you, and just create more credibility.
Yeah, I think that, in the beginning though, that's the long term, right? I'm talking about the short term, because a lot of the sales reps that are on here, long term is important, but you've got to do the short term stuff first. And I think that the short term stuff is just, don't make this complicated. Make it about one thing that you hear on a continual basis that your buyers are saying that's hurting you to close deals, or hurting you to get into conversations. And you know what? Put the fire out and write a piece of content about it and send it to them before the meeting, so that you know that you don't have to hear about that again, because you've fixed that problem already.
So how much time should an individual contributor in sales be spending a day, writing content and producing content? You mentioned it would take like 20 minutes, but should they be doing this daily? Should they be doing it once a week?
I think, a couple times a week and when I'm saying writing content, I'm saying just do a couple posts.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
To create conversation. As far as content goes, I mean, honestly, if you feel that you bring value and you have passion around a subject and you think you understand it, you write content on the weekends. I would tell you that when I was in sales, I've probably written 250 different blog posts. But what a lot of people don't realize is I didn't write those during selling hours. So don't write those during selling hours. If you want to build a personal brand, you want to create content, that's stuff that you have to do outside of selling hours, because you don't want that to affect you hitting quota. You want that to enhance you hitting quota. And in order to do that, you have to, instead of going to the club on Friday nights, you've got to stay in and dedicate some time to writing. Or, instead of Saturday morning, turning on the TV and watching football all day, you got to turn off the TV for 2 hours and go in front of your computer and make a commitment to writing. But I think, as long as you understand that you have a commitment and you're doing it outside of selling hours, if you've got what it takes, make it happen. Start writing start forcing yourself to write one, blog post per week or one piece of content and posting that on your LinkedIn.
Definitely. No. Yeah. And I think that's a really important point that you make there, because I think one of the reasons why a lot of, we'll hear people talking about old school and the old way of selling are against it, is because some of these new age people are seeing social selling and it's exciting, it's fun. And so they dive all, head first all in, and they start getting distracted and trying to write content during selling hours, and it starts impacting their quota. So I appreciate you pointing that out, and creating a differentiating the two of just writing a simple post versus, a long post or a piece of content or a blog, like you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, be smart about your day. I think that this is where, if you're young in sales, what you need to do is you need to have lots of different strategies going on in your day and block those off. So you need, if you're doing cold calling, which I highly recommend if you're new to sales, take 2 hours of when you get the most engagement on phone calls, where people answer the phone the most. Take 2 hours and hit the phones hard, and make a commitment to hitting those phones. Don't do anything else. I'm gonna dial for these 2 hours. I'm not gonna be on social. I'm not gonna be on anything. Just gonna focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then block off a day for an hour for research, and then block off an hour for posting content and going out and looking at conversations that are being had, and get engaged in those, in the industry conversations, in groups on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Block off your day. Be very, very strategic and focused on, I'm going to do whatever I'm doing at this time. I'm going to do it really, really well, and I'm only going to focus on that. And give yourself multiple strategies, because over time, what you'll do is you'll find out what you're comfortable with. You'll find out what you're the best at. My story is I hated cold calling. I'll tell you why, because I'm one of those people that I hate asking for something that I don't deserve. And I thought to myself, you know what? There's got to be a better way. And I fought the old way of selling at my company, which was, the KPI was dial till you're dead, right? And I do believe that there's people out there that are really good at cold calling. I mean, why would they do anything else? They have massive results with cold calling. I say more power to you. What you have to do when you're new in sales is you have to figure out, what are you good at? What do you feel when you leave your office? What are you getting results from out of all the activities that you're doing that you feel the best about, but also you get an actual results to help you hit quota from? Because if you just hate cold calling and it's that uncomfortable, and you've actually tried it and you've put the time in and you put the blood, sweat, and tears in, you're probably not going to be successful in sales keeping that strategy, plain and simple. You have to figure out, if I want to be in sales and I want to stay in sales, how else can I do that? And this is where, marketing comes into play. Some of the best salespeople I know at the core, they're the best marketers I know. But a lot of people don't realize is that they close more business. One of my good buddies is Sujin Patel. That guy, they call him a content marketer. You listen to him on a sales call, he is a salesperson more than he is anything else. Marketing is just the vehicle that he uses to get into those sales conversations. But when he gets on a sales call, hot damn, I'll tell you what, that guy's closing the deal. So, you have to understand that sales, a lot of people that are good at sales, they're good at other things that get them into sales conversations or help them strengthen sales conversations. You have to figure that out, though, while you're young, so that you'll at least enjoy selling whichever way that you see, get you the best results and you feel the best about.
Yeah. And I think it comes back to the way we started off the conversation. You were saying that, social selling is misunderstood, and people think that it's a replacement. It's going to, get rid of cold calling. And, but in my experience, and I think you agree from what I was hearing, is I think of social selling as it's a tool. It's another tool in my salesman toolbox that I can use, another activity that I can do during the day, in addition to, cold calling and
Email.
Things outside of email, all those things. This isn't replacing it. It's an addition to it, because at the end of the day, it's all about being able to reach your client, being able to reach your prospect, being able to start that conversation and drive value. And more and more people are on their phones. They're on social media. They're on LinkedIn. They're on YouTube. That's where they're spending their time. So naturally, that's where we should be going to initiate conversation.
Yeah, and I think it even goes deeper than that. So we used to live in a world of decision makers, and so I'm sure if you're new into sales, you've gotten training and they've said, go to the decision maker, right? Start high. But the interesting thing is, as you're getting into these bigger deal sizes at a more complex sale, is you don't have a decision maker anymore. So that's what's making sales really, really hard, I think, versus what it was 10 years ago when I was selling. You knew who to talk to, and if you got that person on the phone, you were going to get a decision. So, if you're in the more complex sales, understand that there's influencers to the decision makers now that have just as big as impact on the sale than the decision maker. So start thinking about, maybe your decision maker isn't on social. So maybe you're going to cold call them because that's the only route to get to them, or you're going to cold email them, or you're going to think of other creative strategies, which is, send them a jersey of their favorite football team if you're in bigger deal sizes, if you know who that is, and you do some creative strategies. I won't get into those on here, but there's a lot that you can do. But then you got to look at you've got to use like LinkedIn Sales Navigator and use some of these tools to understand that, hey, there's 6 people that, are decision maker, are influencers to this decision maker. LinkedIn Sales Navigator will tell you that. And then maybe your social selling strategy in that account is to actually go after the millennials that are, the assistant to the influencer, or the millennials that are active on social media that can get you into conversation with the decision maker because they're not, maybe they're not picking up the phone. So start to think about how can you leverage social and segment out, the traditional buyer versus the non-traditional buyer. It's not the decision maker always that's making the actual decision. Don't be fooled. Start to use the intelligence tools to create conversations, get visible, valuable, and connected to the people that can affect the decision maker's decision.
I like that. I like that perspective, using it to find a champion or somebody who's going to promote for you within. Love that. Well, Jack, I can't believe we're already out of time today. Thank you for being here. Where can our viewers find more information about you and learn more about some of the strategies that we've talked about? And there's a ton that we didn't get to talk about that I know you have some courses on. Share some information about that.
Yeah, sure. So I have, I have a 12-week social selling course. If that's something you're interested in, just reach out to me. I'll get you a 50% off code. And then the other thing is just go to my website. I write a ton of free content. I give, I'm one of those guys that I like to give everything I know away. My course kind of collaborates it all, so you don't have to go read blog after blog to do that. But if you really want to get at the core of the the education piece and what I'm doing and what I'm giving you processes around results that I've actually seen and had in customers of mine and what we did to get there. So jackkosakowski.com, you can go read, listen to other podcasts. I'm a pretty actionable guy. That's what I really spend my time on, is actually giving you takeaways from my content that you can go implement immediately. And you'll get all of those on my website.
Awesome. I'll definitely put some links in down below for that. So anybody watching or listening, you can definitely be able to find Jack. I recommend reading his content, connecting with him on LinkedIn if you haven't. He is a true practitioner of what he preaches. I don't know if Jack remembers, but before I launched Help Me Close, I actually reached out to him probably it's about 10 months ago, started following him, reading his content, engaged with him on direct message, and asked him some questions about, I was pretty new to video and how to record all these things. And I saw him doing some podcasts. And I was like, Jack, how do you do this? And he was a great help to me. So I'm glad that, 10 months down the road, we were able to actually have this video face to face and share it with all of you. So
absolutely, man. And it's cool to see what you've done in 10 months. So, I'm a story person. So don't tell me how to do something. Give me a story of somebody that I can relate to that's actually done it. And I mean, you're well on your way. So I think that all your podcast listeners should watch and see watch what you're doing at such a young age. And it's going to pay off, man. I mean, it already is, right?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. My network has just grown tremendously. And the knowledge, I think, has been a huge payoff from that, is being able to learn from people. And I can say that my sales skills have also followed that. And so even if let's say you're not selling a product online, but you're engaging in social with social leaders, you can still develop and get a return in your sales offline, because you're going to have higher confidence. You're going to be able to just hone in your sales skills even more. So I'm a huge advocate of having a brand, being online, and developing a network and learning from each other, and appreciate all the content you're producing.
It's a transfer of knowledge. And I think, knowledge is the new currency in the digital age. So, if you can understand what wisdom is and you can give that to people on social, you will go really, really far in life. But I think even more important is, now that you've got this referral network and you've got a network, you got to figure out, you've given and given and given. How can I get at a certain point? So, use influencers and use people that you feel like you build a good relationship with. Don't be scared to ask them, hey, who do you know? Here's my target market. Do you have any referrals? Start to use your social network as a referral system. I mean, that's the most powerful thing you can do, is get a referral. But most salespeople are too scared to ask. Don't be.
Well, there you have it, closers. My conversation with Jack Kosakowski. I hope you've enjoyed it and been able to take some notes and, take action, because we all know what we should be doing. There's a ton of great content out there, and it's telling us what we should be doing, what we need to be doing to close more deals, to make more money. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to take action on what you're learning. So Jack, he gave us some great insights. He said that we should each be creating these small posts to generate conversation, and then to interact with every single individual who interacts with that post. So I hope you have got some ideas on some posts, things that you can do to generate some conversation, and that you take Jack's challenge seriously, because in my own experience, as I've done this on my social networks, I've seen a dramatic increase in value, not only in deals, but especially in the knowledge and the relationships that I've been able to build. So I hope that, again, take this challenge seriously. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, do me a favor and click the thumbs up, so I know that we're on the right track of delivering value to you. And as always, keep closing.